As you can see, this is how I cosplay. I've got my shield, I've got my helmet. Ignore all the pops in the background here, I'll just knock my arse into. But this is how I tend to sort of archive. Well, not archive per se, but this is how I cosplay. This is the first time I've actually archived like this, so I do apologise in advance if things start to get slightly weird in that sort of sense. And I'll start to struggle with the costume. But yeah, that's the thing. So yeah, this is what I wore to the actual film premiere of Marvel Endgame. I originally got asked if I'd be interested in attending a film premiere cosplayed up to help promote the event. It turned out it was going to be really good. It was a really good event, and I'm glad I didn't miss it. So there was like 8 or 9 of us that attended. If you've never cosplayed before at an event, that's brilliant. But it all led from a Comic Con I attended. So they posted on their Facebook or social media page that they wanted to see the best photos they could see of people all cosplayed up as Avengers. So I posted a photo of myself all cosplayed up, that they contacted me back and asked me to be part of this event. Regarding the events, this is the events. This is taken at the event itself. As you can tell, I was in the middle there. We were raising money for a local hospice, those who were coming to the end of their life and things like that, you know. So we managed to raise over £60 for them. People kept coming up to us for photos, and they wanted to sort of have us all in a group line and photograph us. So we just stood outside the board. Other people were dressed up, but we were there as an official capacity for fundraising. We did it with the Odeon, so good respect to the Odeon, and I want to thank the Odeon for letting us do this. It was an awesome night, and like I said, we did it for charity. This is the main thing. It took me a few nights to sort of get my sleep back together again, but it was worth doing it. When you're cosplaying up, you're collecting for charity, things like that. It was worth it. It was worth it. So that was one thing I enjoyed about it. So yeah, I have this photo as well on my Instagram for people who want to go and see it. It's tagged by other people on there, so there's a lot of others. I'll get it out again. There's a lot of others there, so a lot of other cosplayers that were involved in that event who are also tagged in there. So do feel free to go and check them out as well on my Instagram page. But yeah, it's awesome to sort of attend a movie premiere dressed like that, and good on Marvel to spot it in that sort of way and offer us a sort of chance, and the Odeon Cinema as well. Thank you guys for so much for allowing us to do that sort of thing. And it's a bit of a comic news for you. I've had a reply from the artist who created this comic. So this is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Volume 1, Issue 5. Now, originally I had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. post, and if I show you the link here in Twitter, do this new thing that they've done. As a little tribute to the artist, and it's quite awesome to sort of see that. Let me mute that because that's a bit loud. So they've done that, and it was so awesome to sort of do that. So what I did was I posted, like I said, a photo of this comic that I've got, and I said, "Oh, I've actually got one of his covers." I said, "It's nice to see it sort of back and then being used like that." So this is an advertisement for the new Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 6 or Series 6 or so that is an awesome sort of insight to get that sort of story from an artist or who originally did the design of that. There's not often you get tweets and replies from comic book artists from Marvel who do that. Let alone Marvel themselves. They're pretty much, oh well, we're just there to promote sort of things. But when you want to understand the history behind a certain comic, it's always worth promoting them. This is why I always say to people, if you've got rare comics and you want to share them online, or you just want to show them off, do it. Use social media as your collection grows. Especially with my collection, I started it up 3 years ago, 4 years ago. You'll get a lot more replies from people that are doing it. So this is why it's always worth bag and boarding your comics. So the first comic I've got, to bring up my notes a bit, is StormWatch. So I managed to pick this up. I managed to get a bundle of them for like £5 or something, because I thought it'd be nice to sort of review a few comics on stream. And this is dated back to December 2013. So DC Comics did StormWatch Volume 1 between 2011 and 2014. This comic in particular featured Lobo, Midnighter, and the Green Lantern Corps. For those who are DC fans. We've also got from the DC website about this issue is, from what they say is, secrets threaten to destroy Stormwatch. Midnighter and Apollo's origin isn't what it seems. Who is Storm Control, and what does the new villain Extremax want with Earth? That's what this comic is about in general. From reading it myself, it starts off in the aftermath of a fight on the Skywatch base where Midnighter recovers from a fight and how Extremax becomes a villain. There's a bit of that in it, like a backflash of Extremax. The Stormwatch then spend their time in the comic trying to find where he is, and it leads them to Earth, where they find out that the Earth and the Moon are being torn apart by Extremax spaceship, which is called, I think, Alcazar's Astral, towards the end of the comic. It's quite a short issue. I've had a few 52s in the past. I've got the Harley Quinn 52 pack here, and this is where we're going to archive it into it later on. I've done. Another one is a variant cover of the Hulk. Now, I was a bit surprised when I got this pack because I wasn't expecting a Marvel comic I knew that I'd get. But this is quite good. This is Hulk Volume 3, Issue 10A, because it's a variant strain, hence the green cover. This is dating back to March 2015, and it's like a Marvel sort of cover for the championship cover, variants 1 to 10. So that's how many comics they produce for every 10 Marvel Hulk comics that covers they've done. They produced one of these sort of thing. Now it features Red Hulk, She-Hulk, and Daredevil. It starts off with Matt Murdock talking to a client in his office, where the Hulk shows up and informs him he wants some files on Bruce Banner, giving him some advice, and in return he gives him some good advice about Chinese takeaways and things like that. It starts off like usual, a bit strange when you read it, thinking, oh, okay. Then after the Hulk leaves, Matt Murdock goes down to Chinatown to go and find this Chinese takeaway, and then he confronts Thunderbolt Ross, who is known as General Ross in the film. So if you've ever watched the films of the Hulk, you'll know about General Ross in there. He turns around and asks, he's looking for one of his clients, who is the Hulk. Ross then turns into Red Hulk. The Green Hulk turns up, or the original Hulk turns up, and they have a bit of a fight. This is where it ends up. So they end up having a fight between Red Hulk and Green Hulk. It's awesome, quite, just to sort of find a comic that's got that sort of fight going on. As they're fighting, some scientists are trying to gather data on Ross and how he changes into the Red Hulk. So this is what it's about. This is why the Hulk goes down there to try and distract him and trying to find out, and for them to sort of delay the tactics so they know how he's changed. As they get the data on the Red Hulk disappears into a volcano, with the Green Hulk coming to the conclusion of the Project Omega report, which is gathering data on the Red Hulk. Meanwhile, in Brooklyn, Jennifer Walters is working in her office, and we then get an insight of her identity as She-Hulk at the end of the comic. So it's nice to sort of see that. And when I've been reading the newer versions of Captain Marvel, in which you get a lot of She-Hulk in that, it's nice to sort of get a sort of painted picture of how the beginnings are on that. Because she's a lawyer in the actual comics, so it's nice to sort of see how that goes on like that. So that's an awesome sort of Hulk comic to get. Next, we go on to Surface Tensions. Now, I wasn't sure about this comic when I first got it, because I am not one for collecting other comics apart from DC and Marvel. So getting this proved a bit of a challenge in a way. But this is issue 1, and it's actually called issue 1C, because it's a variant comic by Titan Comics. And it was first out in June 2015. Basically, it's a cover C. This is what it is. So it's black and white cover like that. It's a cover C. In this comic, it starts off in the British Channel Islands 1 year after the sea sickness and 2 bodies come out of the sea, basically, is what I've managed to get notes on. They're found by some locals and are saved from the sea because of sea monsters trying to attack them. and things like that. So this is why when I first got into this, I thought, oh, this is quite a strange comic. The comic itself seems to be about a group of people on an island trying to understand where they came from. So it's got a bit of an Inhumans sort of. If you know Marvel's Inhumans, it's a bit like that, but based on the British Channel Islands in that sort of thing. This is what it sort of came to me in my mind to sort of think about it. There's a mixture of things about the people up from the sea and the plague of zombies, sea monsters. So it's pretty much like it's hard to describe it. If you've seen films like with zombie films that are like that, and you'll know where it sort of mixes it in. Overall, it is a long read and it's quite hard to get into. And if you aren't into the environmental topics in comics, it gets even more sort of. But that's what it seems to be about. Environmental, sort of be aware of this, about environments. So it's got quite a lot in that. So that's surface tensions. Another one I did get, which is the Infernal Devices Clockwork Angel. It was a free comic book day one by Yen Press. But this is basically a murder mystery comic set in the Victorian 1870s. It's very manga looking, and it's written crossed between Sherlock Holmes, and it's based on a couple, basically, a man and a woman sort of thing, just to sort of investigate strange things. Artwork is quite decent. Basically a bit black and white, as you can see. So it's okay, but it isn't one I would normally read. I like the fact that it's set in the Victorian times, which is good. I'm not a fan in general of manga comics in that sort of saying, but it produced quite a bit of a detective sort of, you know, the way a man and woman goes around detecting things in the Victorian times, which you wouldn't normally get. But yeah, it's not a bad comic for that sort of thing, for a free comic. And then we got Terrible Lizard. Another strange comic that I got coming. But it is about, like, if you ever seen King Kong films and that, it's a bit like that. It is about a couple of lost people coming across a dinosaur and a giant lizard fighting together to try and stay out of sight as the dinosaur tries to find them, starts chasing them around the island. They're trying to understand, because there's a little lab there, they're trying to understand what breed of animals are on the island and how they got there. But yeah, it pretty much reminds me of a King Kong film in a way, but more scientific in that sort of sense. It's issue 2, so it's produced by Oni Press. We now go on to reviewing the comics we unboxed last week, or last time, on the last show. So first off, we're looking at Spider-Gwen. So I've been collecting these for quite a while now. We're on issue 6. So after I unboxed it, we did a bit of a preview to what the actual websites were saying about this, and it was pretty okay. Now, I've read it, and it's quite a good comic. So this is basically, I think it was April's issue, or was it May? So, March's issue, so it's from March 2019 this. But basically, with Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider, if you've not known the series itself, it's in the aftermath of the Spider-Verse. So if you know about your Spider-Verse and all that lot, it's basically the aftermath of that, plus when she comes back to her own reality of what's happened after she was Gwen. People found out what she was doing and all that lot. So this is her recovering from the Gwenum saga when she was she was feminized by the Santamites stuff that Venom has, but she caught her and she turned her into a female version of Venom. Basically, this issue, it starts off with Gwen Stacy being praised by the mayor for following a bank foiling or preventing a bank robbery on TV. While she's at home, so she's not there. She's not there getting talked to by the mayor. She's just getting recommended by the mayor, being at home and that, because she's still worried about her actual identity. In these comics, she's known as Spider-Woman. For everyone else who knows the whole difference between Spider-Woman and Gwen Stacy's character as Spider-Gwen, you know, it's a bit of a mix-up, but because they're in different worlds and different universes, especially with the Spider-Verse, it's a bit different. So in her universe, she's known as the Spider-Woman. Basically, she's at home, she's spending time with her dad, so she's having a bit of a family time and all that lot. Later on, she goes on patrol after spending time with her dad. and she spots a robber with a mouse on his shoulder, calling himself the the Boleg Bandy. She foils him, takes his gun off him, and he starts getting she starts getting a headache, and then flies away to meet her bandmates after she's foiled him. Because there's like a bit of an ambush, and like I said, the whole gang turn up, and she's like, "Oh, I can't take this." She ends up with a bit of a migraine, a bit of a headache, and she says, "I've got to avoid this fight." So she goes off. She goes and meets her bandmates, Betty Brandt, and then tries to make peace with Mary Jane during brand practice, which is sort of still on the go because as she became Venom or Gwenum, she sort of rocked the boat a bit with her bandmates afterwards, sort of not being able to trust her that well. But after the brand practice, she goes out on patrol again and comes across a carefully placed tape recorder playing a message. And she sort of hears it from a distance. She appears, she goes and investigates it. And as she goes to pick it up, she's hit over the head by a gang. She quite kicks her asses quite comically. She sort of comically says, 5 on 1, seriously? Until the bright lights hit her and she finds herself, she can't see. So she ends up going a bit blind, and then she finds herself on top of a building, not knowing how she got there, with another headache. So that seems to be an aspect that she's suffering some sort of side effects of this Venom experience, I think is what it is. Meanwhile, the Man-Wolf, which is in this comic, so the Man-Wolf appears on this comic for the first time. He appeared in a few issues back. I think the last issue, issue 5, that's when he first appeared. But it's the first appearance in this actual volume where this new villain called Man-Wolf and his gang are plotting to end her. And a part of it is either in this end of this comic, they're plotting to either hire her out or go after her dad, to sort of kidnap her dad and go after her. But it seems to me in this comic is that she's still suffering the effects of the Venom experience. So she's gone through a bit of anxiety issues with her classmates and all that, like when she's gone back to school and things like that. So this Ghost Spider is all to do with that. So this is the Captain Marvel I unboxed last time. This is issue 3. So issue 3, it starts off at the end of issue 2 where Captain Marvel is battling the Metal Men in space, and She-Hulk turns up in a human form and falls to the ground. But again, we got She-Hulk in this, which is awesome. So even though we've had him in the Hulk, we've had her in the Hulk film, in the Hulk comics we've just reviewed, this is why I'm glad I got that one, because it relates to this Captain Marvel. Yeah, you got Valkyrie in this from what do you call it, Thor. For the Thor the third Thor film, she turns up in this and she's fighting away in the base with the rebels. So she's with the rebels and all that lot. What happens in this is that Captain Marvel goes to catch She-Hulk as she orders Jess to finish off the men. After the battle, the Marvel then takes Prince, who is named Som, so S-O-M, who is also the son of Nuclear Man. So Nuclear Man is in this. He first appeared in the 1974 comics, I think that's when it was. And then he sort of developed and he's just come back now as a villain in this. So he's the main villain in this new series of Captain Marvel. She then finds out that Nuclear Man wants to marry Captain Marvel, so hence why they wanted to kidnap her. In the end, they end up kidnapping a reporter who they're still looking for. So they plan to beat up the defences knowing that he'll come back. So they travel to Nuclear Man's citadel where they find Rogue. And that's where it's to be continued in issue 4, which is nicknamed Captain Marvel v Rogue. We've got that to unbox up here. So we've got the comics up here we're going to unbox later on. So that's how much it is. And I've been really impressed with Captain Marvel since the films have come out. What I've got here is I've got Spider-Gwen issue 7 and I've got Captain Marvel issue 4. Now I haven't just got one issue, I've got the variant strains as well. So I get these pre-ordered is what I'm doing. So every month I will review these as a pre-order sort of issue. And this one is, let's have a look, the new Ghost Spider. So this one is, so we've got the Asgard. So I'll show you the original one. So this is the original cover, which is pretty good. According to Marvel website, this is what they're saying. Struggling to find her place as Spider-Woman in a city that seems to revere her and hate her in equal measures, Gwen Stacy has taken matters into her own hands by where is it coming? By becoming a hero for hire. This should make her first date with Harry Osborn a breeze, right? After all, how many people could really need Spider-Woman's help after all? So this is going to be quite an interesting thing to review. Like I said, I'm looking forward to reviewing it, and like I said, I'll give it a good read between now and the next archiving session. So hopefully we'll have a better understanding on how the comic is going. It's an interesting comic, to say the least. We'll find out more about that. And this is the variant strain. Now this is the Asgardian variant strain, as you can probably tell. So you've got, I think that's a female Thor and a few others, on which I've not seen appear before in the Spider-Verse at all, especially in the comics. So I don't know if that's what happens in the world of Spider-Gwen, which is Earth, is it 606? I can't remember if it's Earth 606 or 616. It's so many different multiverses around. It's not, it's a bit difficult to find out and remember which one is actually Spider-Gwen. But could it be a little hint of what's going on, or is it just them advertising the brand new Asgard comics that are coming out and the new Thor ones that are coming out? Well, I've got another one. So this should be not Spider-Gwen, this should be Captain Marvel. So let's unbox that. We'll put that in there. We'll undo this. And we have, oh, it's a variant strain. So I've actually unboxed the variant strain of Captain Marvel. And that is an Asgardian one as well. So that's Asgardian as well, which is quite relevant to the storyline we've had. So that's the variant strain. Ooh, there we go. Oh, a Rogue v Captain Marvel one. Ooh, so this is Rogue v Captain Marvel cover, which is quite good. And of course, it is Rogue from what we know from X-Men, which is quite awesome. Now, if she appears in this comic, that'll be quite awesome. But basically, let's see what Marvel say about this. Marvel is saying, the knockdown and drag-out fight you can't miss. Nuclear Man reveals his secret weapon. X-Man Rogue. So it seems like Nuclear Man has actually hired Rogue to go after Captain Marvel from the looks of it. It's been years since Rogue stole Carol's powers and memories in a fight they challenged Carol forever. That changed Carol forever. Carol and Rogue have become somewhat uneasy allies in the years since. A wound like that will never fully heals, and now isolated her from her allies and facing her worst nightmares, how far will Carol go to stop history from repeating itself? So that is what basically this is all about. I'm really looking forward to sort of reviewing it and seeing how that goes. But yeah, it's another one where I'm sort of happy to do and happy to sort of read. So it's going to be a nice sort of X-Men v Captain Marvel. Who will win? I know who my money would be on. It's just a case of how other people will see it. So that's going to be an awesome battle.